War crimes are severe breaches of international humanitarian law. These include intentionally killing civilians, taking hostages, and destroying property not justified by military necessity. These acts are defined under the Geneva Conventions and the Rome Statute of the ICC. War crimes also encompass acts like torture and inhumane treatment. These crimes must be committed during an armed conflict. This includes both international and non-international conflicts. Violations bring accountability and justice to victims. Israel has faced numerous allegations of war crimes in Gaza. Human rights organizations report significant civilian casualties and extensive infrastructure damage. These allegations often arise during military operations, notably Operation Protective Edge in 2014. Many civilians were killed in targeted strikes. Schools, hospitals, and homes were destroyed or damaged. This has led to calls for investigations into possible war crimes. Operation Protective Edge in 2014 is a focal point for allegations. During this operation, numerous incidents were reported. One notable case is the shelling of UNRWA schools. These schools were used as shelters by civilians. Despite being notified of their status, they were hit by artillery fire. Another incident involves the bombing of residential buildings. The Al-Bach family home was struck, killing 18 people, many of whom were children. Human rights organizations documented these incidents and called for accountability. The destruction of Gaza's only power plant is another example. This act severely impacted the civilian population. It disrupted electricity and water supplies, affecting hospitals and essential services. Each of these incidents highlights potential breaches of international humanitarian law. They reflect the broader concerns about the conduct of military operations in densely populated areas. The high number of civilian casualties and the destruction of infrastructure are central to these allegations. Israel's defense is based on self-defense. It argues its actions protect its citizens. Israel faces constant threats from Gaza. The country maintains its right to defend itself. It issues warnings before attacks. Precision-guided munitions target militants. Critics question the proportionality and effectiveness. Section 5. The principle of proportionality. The principle of proportionality is central to the debate on Israel's actions. This principle aims to limit harm to civilians during military operations. It requires that the military advantage gained from an attack outweigh the harm inflicted on civilians. Critics argue that Israel's actions in Gaza violate this principle. They point to the high number of civilian casualties and the extensive damage to infrastructure. They argue that these actions are disproportionate to the military objectives. Supporters of Israel's actions argue otherwise. They claim that Israel faces a unique security threat. The measures taken are necessary and proportionate to neutralize this threat. They also argue that militants' use of human shields complicates compliance with proportionality. The principle of proportionality remains a contentious issue. It is a key point of disagreement between critics and supporters of Israel's actions. Its application in urban warfare is complex and often subjective. Section 6. International community's response. The international community has responded in various ways. The United Nations has been vocal in its criticism. It has called for investigations into alleged war crimes. Several resolutions condemning Israel's actions have been passed. Human rights organizations have also been active. They have documented incidents and called for accountability. Reports by Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch provide detailed accounts of alleged violations. The International Criminal Court has also been involved. It opened a preliminary examination into the situation in Palestine. This move aims to determine if there are grounds for a formal investigation. The ICC's involvement signifies the seriousness of the allegations. Despite these actions, there is a divide in the international community. Some countries support Israel's right to self-defense. Others strongly condemn its actions. This divide reflects the complexity and sensitivity of the issue. Section 7. The role of the United Nations. The United Nations plays a significant role in addressing these allegations. The UN Human Rights Council has conducted investigations. It has produced reports detailing alleged violations by both Israel and Palestinian militants. One significant report is the 2015 Commission of Inquiry on Gaza. This report highlighted numerous incidents of potential war crimes. It called for accountability and justice for victims. The UN has also called for a ceasefire and peace negotiations. The UN Relief and Works Agency, or UNRWA, plays a crucial role in Gaza. It provides humanitarian aid and support to Palestinian refugees. During conflicts, it often reports on the impact on civilians and infrastructure. The UN's actions emphasize the need for compliance with international law. It seeks to ensure protection for civilians and accountability for violations. However, its effectiveness is often limited by political dynamics. Section 8. The role of the International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court, or ICC, is another key player. It opened a preliminary examination into the situation in Palestine in 2015. This examination aims to assess whether there are grounds for a formal investigation. The ICC faces challenges in this context. Israel is not a member of the ICC. This complicates the court's jurisdiction. However, Palestine's status as a non-member observer state allows it to refer cases to the ICC. The ICC's involvement is significant. It represents a move towards accountability for alleged war crimes. The court seeks to provide justice for victims and deter future violations. The ICC's actions highlight the importance of international justice mechanisms. However, political and logistical challenges often hinder progress. The court's involvement remains a contentious issue. Section 9. Ongoing debate and human cost of the conflict. The debate over Israel's actions in Gaza continues. It is marked by strong opinions and deep divisions. Critics argue that Israel's actions amount to war crimes. They call for accountability and justice for victims. Supporters argue that Israel has the right to defend itself. They emphasize the threats it faces from militants in Gaza. They argue that the measures taken are necessary and proportionate. The human cost of the conflict is immense. Civilians bear the brunt of the violence. Families are torn apart and communities are destroyed. The psychological and physical impact on survivors is profound. The ongoing debate reflects the complexity of the issue. It highlights the need for a balanced approach. Ensuring accountability while recognizing the security challenges is crucial. The human cost of the conflict underscores the urgency of finding a resolution.